Hi friends, many of you know Roald Dahl is one of my favorite authors of all time. This one is a very funny book, and it's about two people who are neighbors, but one of them doesn't know that the other exists. Mr. Hoppy loves Miss Silver, but Miss Silver doesn't know he exists, so he comes up with a plan to help. So let me read the back of the book and then we'll start a few pages. Again, Roald Dahl always has just wonderful characters and character development as well as creativity of the different personalities and character traits each character has. Mr. Hoppy is in love with his neighbor, Mrs. Silver. But she is in love with someone else. Alfie, her pet tortoise. With all her attention focused on Alfie, Mrs. Silver doesn't even know Mr. Hoppy is alive. And Mr. Hoppy is too shy to even ask Miss Silver over for tea. Then one day, Mr. Hoppy comes up with a brilliant idea to get Mrs. Silver's attention. If Mr. Hoppy's plan works, Mrs. Silver will certainly fall in love with him. After all, everyone knows the way to a woman's heart is through her tortoise. The book is called Esio, Trot, by the way. I forgot to name the title. I'm so excited that it was by Roald Dahl. Esio, Trot. I thought I'd start reading the author's note. That's just a little bit of information or a blurb that the author wrote. So this one is from Roald Dahl. Some years ago, when my own children were small, we usually kept a tortoise or two in the garden. In those days, a pet tortoise was a common sight crawling around on the family's lawn or in the backyard. You could buy them quite cheaply in any pet shop, and they were probably the least troublesome of all childhood pets, and quite harmless. Tortoises used to be brought into England by the thousand, packed in crates, and they came mostly from North America. But not many years ago, a law was passed that made it illegal to bring any tortoises into the country. This was not done to protect us. The little tortoise was not a danger to anybody. It was done purely out of kindness to the tortoise itself. You see, the traders who brought them in used to cram hundreds of them tightly into the packed crates without food or water, and in such horrible conditions that a great many of them always died on the sea journey over. So rather than allow this cruelty to go on, the government stopped the whole business. The things you are going to read about in this story all happened in the days when anyone could go out and buy a nice little tortoise from a pet shop. We can still buy tortoises in our pet shops, but let's read a little bit about this experience from England. Mr. Hoppy lived in a small flat high up in a tall concrete building. He lived alone. He had always been a lonely man, and now that he was retired from work, he was more lonely than ever. There were two loves in Mr. Hoppy's life. One was the flowers he grew on his balcony. They grew in pots and tubs and baskets, and in summer, the little balcony became a riot of color. Mr. Hoppy's second love was a secret he kept entirely to himself. And we know that the secret is his love for Mrs. Silver, but I hope you read this to figure out how he let Miss Silver know that he loved her.